radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? Today's Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. 82 days into the new year, only 283 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Seriously. A total undisclosed location, but it is beautiful in here. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UnX Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right. So last week, a completely first-time guest week. This week, another first-time guest week. And closing out the night tonight, batting cleanup, very special guest, Sean Cahill. Oh, man, here we go. So looking forward to this. That's right. The subject, UFOs. For him, it's UAPs. UFOs, UAPs. Skyfort. Yeah. Just the name. I got to find out how that happened. Skyfort. Man, Skyfort. All right, and beyond. There's so much to talk about tonight with Sean, and I mean, for sure, this is just the first of many shows that we'll be doing with Sean in the future, but very, very, very anticipated show. So that's going on tonight. And closing out the week, right, with Sean, and then tomorrow night, Fader night with open lines all night long. And somebody pinch me. It's just an amazing week this week here on the show. And there you go. And I want to start off with Carolyn Ford. Carolyn Ford. Carolyn is on my mind. She's been a sponsor of the show for a long time, but I just got to hang out with her this weekend, and I've only, I guess I've met and hang out and broke bread with most, if not all, of our sponsors on the show. That's one of the things. When you become a sponsor of the show, you get to hang out, right? We're going to go to dinner. We're going to go do those things. It's one of the benefits. Right? It's one of the benefits. And but anyway, I've only hung out with Carolyn one other time. And so this was, and it was just it was a special night, and it was so much fun. She's on my mind. And one of the things that she said to me at dinner, and it was just so awesome, she looked right at me and she goes, "I've got your next skulls picked out." I said, "Well, wait. Can no. no. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm just going to let that go right there. And I mentioned this last night on the show because I like doing unboxing videos of her skulls because of the way she packages them. There's so much excitement and anticipation. But this time around, I have no idea what's coming. And those are going to be some great unboxing videos. I don't have a clue. And there you go. But you can get a clue about your next skull. I want you to visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. And if that's too long to remember, head over to the website. There is a banner right there. Click on that. Head over and just go look at her collection. It's the biggest and it is the best. Something is going to resonate with you. That's how you connect. That's how I connect with my skulls. And so go, take a look. And when you make that connection, use the promo code Jimmy, Jimmy, 10% off of your next Crystal Skull order today. It's really that simple. And she loves the Fader knots, man. And she talked about this wonderful family for a long time. And so there you go. EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow me right there at JChurchRadio. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B. P.S. Fader has got a camel. What is it? Oh, hump day. I get it. Thank you, Kaz. Carolyn Fort. Look at that. That's got to be Ruby. Oh, it is Ruby. Oh, the name is Ruby. Oh, no, it's Ruby. Okay. Ileana is the name of that skull. Ruby on the top, I guess maybe. Would that be emerald on the bottom? That is beautiful. Man. Okay, thank you for that, Kaz. Head over to the Sandbox right there on Twitter, hashtag F2B, and hang out with us. Okay, we got a big show tonight. Sean Cahill is here, and this is... Now, you know what? I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to give my thought process away. So I'm going to leave that right there. Sean Cahill is with us. We'll be here at the bottom of the hour. Let's get straight to the breaking news. Russian military forces have destroyed a new laboratory at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant that, among other things, works to improve management of radioactive waste. The laboratory, built at a cost of 6 million euros with support from the European Commission, opened in 2015. In another worrying development, radiation monitors around the plant have stopped working. I don't know if that is connected. The other thing, this laboratory was full of radioactive material. Yeah, nobody knows where it is. Part of our Milky Way. Oh, Nestle. Let's talk chocolate. Let's talk Kit Kats. Earlier today, Nestle said it is suspending sales of Kit Kat bars, Nespresso pods, the coffee machine maker pods, and San Pellegrino bottled water in Russia. No word on the rest of their products or companies, but they're doing those three right now. And I'm going to say this. Russians love their Kit Kat bars and Pellegrino. I'm just telling you right now, they're going to feel that pain. Part of our Milky Way galaxy is much older than previously thought. This is crazy news. And I was talking about this last night. How, I'm reading this book, right, that was published back in 2018, and how outdated it is in not only its information, its data, the theories, the technology. But, in 4 short years, the book is just outdated because things are moving at such a quick pace. And then you have this news. Part of our Milky Way galaxy is much older than previously thought. New research has found our Milky Way forming around 2 billion years earlier than expected. Now, listen, the new research is saying that parts of our Milky Way formed 800 million years after the Big Bang. The current age of the universe is around 13.8 billion years old. So there are parts of our Milky Way that are 13 billion years old. That is crazy. Astronomers have found a thick disk of the Milky Way that is that old. It's just astonishing. That changes things. 2 billion years. Crazy. All right. CERN. The Geneva Area Research Center that houses the world's largest atom smasher is grappling with ways to punish Russia's government while protecting Russian researchers who work there to help solve the deepest mysteries of the universe. CERN, the historic acronym for what now is known as the European Organization for Nuclear Research, has a mission to facilitate collaboration among its 23 member countries and beyond. Some 1,000 scientists, or nearly 7% of the 18,000 researchers involved with CERN, are affiliated with Russian institutions. Most, though not all, are Russian. CERN is not sending anyone home, though. At least not yet. They're trying to keep the Russians there, but it's becoming a very difficult situation. And that is coming straight from CERN. NASA's Mars helicopter Ingenuity has done it again, soaring successfully on its 22nd red planet flight. The 4-pound Ingenuity stayed aloft for about 101 seconds and reached a maximum altitude of 33 feet during the flight, which took place this past Sunday, March 20th. Incredible. It wasn't supposed to last this long. Now it just seems like it's going to keep on going. Check this news out. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has married his fiancée at Belmarsh Prison. All of this happened this morning. Just weeks before the 3rd anniversary of his arrest, he has been held in the high-security prison since he was dragged out of London's Ecuadorian embassy in 2019. He was given permission to marry last year. His partner, Stella Morris, is a lawyer. She arrived at the Southeast London jail in a dress designed by Vivienne Westwood. Yeah. 4 guests and 2 witnesses were allowed to attend the ceremony, as well as 2 security guards. Prison guards. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Carrie Russell, 46 years old, star of The Americans. That's a great show. And everything that's going on in the world right now with Russia. It makes that show all the more believable. Randall Park today is 48. And now I know what you're saying. Wait. Who? Randall Park today is 48 years old. Randall Park played Kim Jong-un in The Interview. I love Randall Park, man. Matthew Modine. That was yesterday. Our dead guy's birthday today is Dave Frischberg. And I know what you're saying right now. You're like, what? Dave Frischberg, 1933 to 2021, died at the age of 88. Dave was a singer. He was also a songwriter. And on Saturday mornings in the 1970s, there was a show called Schoolhouse Rock. And on that show was one of the most sung lyrics in children's history, I'm Just a Bill, which was written by, you guessed it, Dave Frischberg. The song was sung by Jack Sheldon with dialogue by Sheldon's son John as the boy learning the process. It's about how a bill becomes law and how it must go through Congress and how it can be vetoed, etc. The bill in the song is for a law that school buses must stop at railroad crossings. The bill becomes a law, but in reality, such a bill has never been approved by the United States Congress, but an equivalent by the United States Department of Transportation is Code 49 CFR 392.10. That's right. Dave died on November 17th, 2021 in Portland, Oregon at the age of 88. There you go. On this day in history, 1983, in an address to the nation, President Ronald Reagan proposes that the United States start a program to develop an anti-missile technology that would protect the United States from nuclear missiles. Called SDI, or the Strategic Defense Initiative, and dubbed Star Wars, it allegedly never happened. Or did it? Yeah. Fader fact. I vetted this today. Fader fact. McDonald's initially was a barbecue restaurant that quickly went out of business. Grand opening, grand closing. That's right. 3 months later, they reopened as a burger joint. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight, very special guest Sean Cahill joins us. He is here for the first time, batting cleanup this week because it's first time guests week times 2 here on Fade to Black. He is with us for the first time to talk about UFOs, UAPs, Skyfort, and beyond. That's tonight. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. When I get to this part of the show, I'm reaching for my Fade to Black blend, River Moon Coffee. I love it when I get to this point in the show. I'm reaching. It's an automatic. And tomorrow night is another Fader night on Fade to Black. And now I'm going to hit this River Moon Coffee. I earned it. 20 minutes. Yeah, I get a sip of coffee. RivermoonWellness.com. Yeah. Let's do this, brah. That's from offline. That's funny. That is funny. RivermoonWellness.com. I think the promo code is F2B Blend. 15% off of your order, depending on, you do it from the website. I think that's good. They don't have promo codes. I don't think, do they? At Amazon? I don't know. If you're shopping at the Amazon store, you're going to get free shipping. I don't know how all of that works. But Fade to Black Blend. Game Changer Blend. And we have all that other stuff with the I can't even say, if I say it on the air, some bot is going to shut this show down. But we have another version of the coffee with something added to it. Go to the website, check it out. All right. And all of our Black Moon wellness products are there too as well. Okay. Where am I? Oh, yeah. You see the news today? I don't know how John Greenwald does it. To be honest with you, I really don't. But yeah, today he did it again. Released through the Black Vault are the 16 pages. Depending on how you want to count them, you can count them your own way, and you can scroll through and go to the website, click on the link, and look at the PDF, and you can figure it out. The pages are numbered, and you can just go because he's got his intro letters there, and there's a cover page. There's a second cover page, and then it goes out. Okay. But there's a certain amount of pages with data on them with the actual report. So you got to go and count. So in total, the PDF file that John's got up there, it's 24 pages. How many of those are the report? Well, start at the end and count backwards, okay? I kind of came up with 16, and then there's a cover page. There's an extra cover page. Is it 17? Is it 18? It doesn't matter. It's all there, okay? So depending on how you want to count it, all right? Because if I say the wrong number, I'm going to get an email. Church, it's not 15, it's 16. Church, it's not 16, it's 17. It's 14. Just the PDF is there. The PDF in total is 24 pages. And it is titled, it's right there. It is the UAP Task Force report from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, titled Preliminary Assessment Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, 25 June 2021. There's your cover page. And, wow. All right. Yes, I'm just going to say it. The redactions start on the cover page. It's right there, man. The cover page is redacted. Now, okay. Let me just talk about this for a second. I'm going to give you an example. I will also be speaking to Sean Cahill tonight about this. But the report itself is heavily redacted, with 7 pages, according to my count, basically blacked out. I'm not joking, but that doesn't mean that there isn't some interesting reading there, because there is a lot of stuff. And yes, it's certainly worth it, and you've got to check it out for sure. Just head over to the Black Vault. It's up throughout social media, and you can go and click and do the download. Now, how do we get to this report? The redactions and the things that we have to deal with, okay, yeah, inconvenient, it sucks. What was actually there? Yeah, okay, I get that. But how did we get to this report? If we go back, and I'm just going to say the dastardly words of Hillary Clinton, if you remember when Hillary was on, man, was it David Letterman or Jimmy Kimmel? Letterman was already off the air. Must have been Jimmy Kimmel. I could be right. It was probably Jimmy Kimmel. When she says, it's not UFOs anymore. It's UAPs. Get with it, man. And I don't think she said that. But it's UAPs. And, going back that far where UAPs started to come in, and it was in the Condon report that came out of the UK, and UAPs were there. And, we're going, this is way before TTSA and everything else started. But UAPs, right? And suddenly UAPs are in fashion. UFOs are in fashion. And now this report, right? Now go and read it, because it is spectacular. Seriously. How did we get here? The redactions. So what is a redaction in this report? How important is it? Well, check this out. And I've got up right here in front of me page number 6. You can grab any page. It's going to have the same thing. But you have, here is an example right here. Redaction, one word, in, redaction. A Navy pilot in an redaction, in altitude. He noted the winds aloft were greater than redacted, and he was fighting to keep his aircraft in the airspace, redacted, was redacted, and his position was unaffected by the redacted. The pilot, redacted, 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 redacted. Object was redacted, 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 redacted. Redacted in redacted. A Navy report documented redacted, but then appeared in change, course, and speed, redacted, from redacted, redacted, in redacted, a UAP exhibited redacted, redacted, according to redacted. The UAP task force has redacted additional reports of the aircraft, including redacted, that appear to be redacted. That's one paragraph. It's just, and it's a situation where, and if you go to just another page. According to the aircraft recorded, shows the object redacted. A 2004 UAP event reportedly demonstrated redacted. According to a U.S. Navy reporting during redacted, hours in redacted, a helicopter pilot and two weapons systems officers visually observed several redacted objects moving approximately redacted. One of the WSOs redacted. Approximately redacted. 5 redacted objects, which redacted. The WSO reported redacted, but redacted. The pilot and the other redacted. The redacted objects. What are you going to do? But it is fascinating reading. And thank you, John Greenwald, for all of it. There's much more to come from John in the Black Vault. But getting this out there and getting this in the public, and will we see a more unredacted version? I certainly hope so. Thank you, John Greenwald. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Sean Cahill joins us for the first time. He's going to be right with us after this short break. We're going to be talking about this report, UAPs, Skyfort, and beyond. Tomorrow night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer and UnX Networks. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back after this short break with Sean Cahill. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at wtih.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UNX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. First time guest this week, times 2 weeks in a row. Tonight, batting cleanup, Sean Cahill joins us for the first time. We're going to be covering everything tonight. We've got a lot to cover, and a good dose of breaking news, too. But we're going to do everything current on the subject of UAPs. And I promise I'm going to get an explanation of Skyfort. What the heck? We're going to go into that. We're going to discuss our skies and beyond, all of that tonight. Chief Cahill served in the United States Navy from 1995 to 2015. He was entrusted with critical missions spanning anti-terrorism, anti-piracy, interrogation, and investigations. Chief Cahill retired from the United States Navy in 2015. He is a co-founder and strategic advisor for Skyfort. Yeah. A think tank, allegedly, and a tech incubator working on UAP studies and awareness, and that just is shifty from the word go. I can't wait to find out about this tonight. The websites mintyhyperspace.com and skyfort.org are all over jimmychurchradio.com and throughout social media. And now I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Chief Sean Cahill. Sean.
Good evening, Jimmy.
Good evening, sir. How are you, man?
I'm well, man.
It's great to finally have you here. And but before we get started, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way, which is, Sean, it's just, wait. Am I doing Sean tonight, or am I doing Chief?
Oh, no, it's Sean. No,
okay.
No, Chief is still on the boat.
Okay.
He's way back in the past.
You have to understand, it's called respect. Okay, Sean, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where that conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. There you go.
I like
All
that.
right. Yeah, we got that out of the way. I'm actually going to start here. I don't know if you know this. I was born at Great Lakes Naval Station.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Did you take any classes there?
Which naval station? You cut out right when you said that.
Great Lakes.
Yes, I went to boot camp at Great Lakes, and I attended apprenticeship training at the Naval Training Center right next to the recruit training depot. Yeah. Now, did that kind of tripped you out? When was the last radio host that told you that they were born at Great Lakes Naval Station? Oh, you're the first one, man. You're definitely the first one.
And I'm a military brat, and we lived at Fort Sheridan, which is inactive now, but just south of they practically touch Great Lakes and Fort Sheridan, but Fort Sheridan didn't have a hospital. So all of us kids were born up at Great Lakes Naval Station. So there you go. But that's where all the secret boot camp training goes on, and so there you go. So before we get to the Navy, which we're going to spend a lot of time tonight on, of course, tell me about your childhood, though. And did you know what UFOs were? Did you have an interest in it wasn't UAPs back then, right? So.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I have been interested in the subject my whole life. When I was a kid, I was one of those kids who wandered into the library and found this one book that had, I think, a picture of Bigfoot on it, the Loch Ness Monster, and maybe like a UFO with a spike on top. And if you were able to go back to that elementary school library, you'd see my name written in that thing over and over again. So yeah, I was into this stuff and always looking up at the sky and interested. In the years since, being involved in this more deeply, obviously we take this very seriously. Looking back, it would seem that I probably had more experiences than I was really admitting at the time. I've always been a person who found the prosaic experience and then just kept moving on. There's another side to the coin, but you got to give it that real life explanation and keep moving. But I grew up in the Bay Area around San Francisco, just south in a little town called Hillsboro. My father was a World War II veteran. He was a waist gunner and radio operator on B-17s in the conflict over in Europe. Was involved in bombing missions of Ploiesti and Peenemünde, and was actually a Foo Fighter witness. I was honored to write the foreword for Graham Randall's book on Foo Fighters and mentioned my father's sightings in there. When I came on the scene, I was the youngest of 8 kids. So it was much, much later. We had moved to California. My father was a businessman at that point, had spent years working for various companies like DuPont and others, in textiles and I think chemical, the chemicals and textiles.
Yeah.
But mom died when I was 7 on Christmas Eve. So that did a lot to form my, a lot of, anti-spiritual feeling that led to a lot of searching. I was that made me angry when I was 7, and I think for a great deal of my life I was angry at God. So instead of just accepting my family's religion or something that was attractive, I tried to seek out everything about all of them to try to find something that was going to explain to a 7-year-old why he had to give up his mom on Christmas Eve. So that paints a different view of spiritualism for somebody when they're searching like that.
And was this in San Francisco?
Yeah, mom got sick a few days before Christmas. It was complications due to alcoholism and cirrhosis. I'm pretty sure it was a hemorrhage that eventually happened in her esophagus. But yeah, this was in San Francisco, and she was on. I think she was passed in Mills Hospital, actually. So that's a very surreal week for me.
And it's also, at the age of 7, it may be a little bit different. But as you're growing up and you're on a spiritual quest and having questions, that's certainly the right city to go and try to find some answers.
Yeah, most certainly. I was very into when I was young, into martial arts and Eastern philosophy. It's not a surprise that when I finally got out of the military, I kind of dipped back into Buddhism and other things like that. I was really interested in them when I was younger. But I would have to say the majority of my time in the military, the 20 years I spent there, I was probably more of a Sam Harris kind of card-toting, intellectual, militant, jackass atheist, to be honest with you. You know, I was ready to throw down with anybody.
Right. Can we talk about Sam Harris for a second?
Sure.
He is somebody that I have a huge amount of interest in, but it may not be for the reasons that you think. I agree with some of his stuff. I do. Probably about half. But what he does make me do is think and then and just pursue my own interest. Because there are times I just want to grab him by the throat and just shake him.
I have to give him a great deal of credit because I feel this. I actually feel exactly the same way you do, possibly for a different reason. You know, our political ideologies and how we feel about human psychology differ a little, but when it comes to meditation, I find his ability to go as deep as he does and remain completely secular almost frustrating. But at the same time, I really admire it because in a lot of ways, that's how I kind of view UAP studies and things like that. I shouldn't be telling you what what to think. I want to tell you how to get to the place where you can arrive at your own answers yourself. And I admire Sam for doing that. But at the same time, I want to shake him by the head. I want to know what have you experienced? What's beyond that?
Yeah. Because he wants to project. Okay. Let's stay on Sam Harris. This is a great turn of a conversation. I didn't expect this tonight. So, and this is a live show. This is how a conversation happens. Here's the deal with Sam Harris. There are times where he goes completely spiritual and metaphysical. Completely.
Yeah.
But his audience is atheist. And therefore he cannot alienate his audience. He's got one of the biggest followings out there, period. And they listen to every word. So he is constantly dipping his toes, into both waters, but pulling himself back. And I often wonder, Sean, I'm serious, if you get him alone, right, where he doesn't have to entertain, where's that conversation going?
That would fascinate me too, because I think we all know that, when you're dealing with subjects that have a portion of it that is based in anecdotal personal experience, or that is based in human growth and personal growth
and morals and self-concern. Yes, absolutely. That's a spiritual thing. He went to the edge of the cliff and took a peek, man.
Yeah, I agree. But I think we have to give him credit though, because we all take very seriously, and our offense button is hair trigger when it comes to another human being telling us that they've experienced an aspect of reality that we're not as familiar with. And if we even sense that they're talking down to us, we'll throw them right out with the bathwater.
That's right. And here's the confusing thing. He's like a walking paradox, man. If you think about this. Atheist, man, the world is black and white, right? You have no free will, right? Okay, so we know this about Sean. But the flip side, he is constantly talking about consciousness and what it is. He's constantly talking about aliens and UFOs and things visiting this planet. And he is definitely open-minded with all of these things. But we're just chemicals, right? And he'll always pull back and go back to these science principles and the hard sciences.
I'm not sure, and I think you're hitting on the same thing. I'm not sure if Sam is leaning towards contrarianism or if he's protecting himself in that way. Or I want to give him a little credit though, because he's in a lot of ways he's walking the Buddhist middle path. He is walking that path that says, I will have no attachment, and that lack of attachment through naming or through giving worship to something, I have to respect that. So
I do too.
He's a professional, that's for sure. Because if we can't tell what he's doing, and he's got all of us listening, he's doing the right thing.
There is, I have listened to this probably, and I'm not kidding, 50 times. There is a 4-hour Sam Harris presentation on artificial intelligence, right? It's and I have listened to that presentation so many times. It is so insightful. It's old now. I mean, it's been out for years and years and years. And it shows me a side of him I have just got the maddest of respect. But I still just want to shake him, man.
Yeah.
You know, and there are times, okay, we're going to move on. We're going to get to UAPs, folks, I promise. I swear, there are moments I'll be listening to Sam. I'm like, okay, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. He's going spiritual. Here it comes. It's consciousness is coming. Here it comes. Then he pulls back.
Yeah, I think you know what? I'll bust his chops a little. He's a giant to me. But yeah, sometimes that seems like, is that your shtick, man? You're gonna, and I know, hey, you could say the same about UAP studies and ufology, combined. We've got a lot of folks that are always promising and hoping and got a lot of info and hey, you might accuse me of being one of those people tonight, but we'll live through it, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so let's talk about this for a second. Your gig in the Navy, when we get to things like, anti-terrorism and piracy and interrogation and investigations, that alludes to a suggestion of, an agent, under that classification. What? No, don't react. I'm just saying that
sure.
It's feeling that way. You're not the captain of a ship, right? You're not swabbing the decks. You're doing other stuff that is involved in a very, very dark, clandestine world, right?
I'm not going to say right to that because there's a Hollywood picture that was painted across that. Not to bust your chops, but words like clandestine and dark in this regard have a great deal of meaning, and there was never anything clandestine about my job. I was the law enforcement official on board the ships. So those singular attributes of a full spectrum law enforcement officer that deploys for 6 months and has to wear many hats and cover a great deal of warfare areas. For example, being a law enforcement officer, I wouldn't normally be up on the bridge of the Princeton where I was when we encountered the Tic Tac. That was actually a favor to my department head, who happened to be the navigator, plus something that was going to help my numbers, so to speak, to compete, because we were a platform that was most focused with putting missiles on target. No one really gave a darn about what the law enforcement officer was going to do, competitively. So when you look at something like interrogation, that's what we call it when we interview a subject. When a law enforcement officer brings in a suspect, he does interview and interrogation. And when you look at anti-piracy, as a law enforcement officer, I was chosen to lead a boarding team of non-compliant boarding officers, in the Northern Arabian Gulf doing anti-piracy missions. Now, we were picking up special warfare and SOCOM missions. We had our crew from Princeton and the crew from the John Paul Jones were actually selected for a pilot program, which became standard. But we were trained by folks that former SEALs and Blackwater folks trained us to do the job that the special warfare operators had been doing in anti-piracy and drug interdiction and things like that, but had become overwhelmed with during the course of the war. So they had to peel that off and give it to what we call blue water Navy. So most folks who are in the Navy would go, he was a master at arms. He didn't do anything squirrely.
So yeah, you were the guy. You were the guy that threw Kevin Day in the brig.
No. We didn't have it. Number one, Kevin Day was the senior chief petty officer. He outranked me. Kevin's my friend and my colleague. No, and we did not have a brig on the Princeton.
So I'm staying on the Tic Tac incident, and then we're going to branch out. But staying there for a second, I have asked. Before I ask this question, are you bound by any oath or NDA or anything now? Are you free to answer questions?
I never signed an NDA of any kind when I was on active duty. I'm not bound by any oath that I'm aware of beyond to my wife and my children and my friends.
Right.
But I have to say that I have signed an NDA while working on this subject, while speaking to a person who had activity on their property and got to a point where they wanted some kind of protection about me talking, wanted to make sure their identity wasn't going to be released, et cetera, or people weren't going to start coming to their property. And they didn't want to engage with the subject anymore, so they asked me to sign an NDA, and I did. And so I protect that person's identity and the information around them. But that's the only non-disclosure agreement I've ever signed in my life.
Okay, so no jeopardizing of a security clearance or anything else. And
no.
Okay, now going back to the Tic Tac incident, was there from let's go with the rear admiral or the admiral of the fleet, whoever was on the Nimitz,
Commander Cargrew, Commander Carrier Strike Group 11.
Yeah, okay. There had to have been a thick incident report written up of everything that was there, and I would have assumed that would have made its way to the Oval Office, or at least to dry land.
I like where you ended with the dry land part. I agree. Up to the Oval Office, that's really, I think, as we've learned, a question of who would take this seriously, who didn't, how is it reported, and what conduits existed. But I agree with you. What's called a MISREP and a SIT or a SIT rep should have been completed. A mishap report, situation report, etc. So as a law enforcement officer on board and tasked as the anti-terrorism officer, when we're in port, I was responsible to the commanding officer for enforcement of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, local, federal, and state law, while on board the ship and in the vicinity of the ship. I was also tasked with what's called anti-terrorism. Now, anti-terrorism occurs basically in port. Once we cross what we call the breakwater or start entering into the traffic pattern of the harbor area, that's where the rules of engagement stop that you would normally utilize for war, and what we call and the anti-terrorism force protection mission picks up there. And so we would respond differently and things like that. So while I'm out to sea, I'm only responsible for what's called good order and discipline and law enforcement on board the ship. So that report would not have come to me because it wouldn't have been a law enforcement violation, and it wouldn't have fallen under my stuff. Now, I will say, to clarify any questions you might ask, it would have been sent out. It would have been in our sent items, essentially, on the SIPR side or the secret and TS computers. Should it have been there? Should it have been created? Absolutely. Where is it? I don't know. Now, where are the radar tapes? Where are all of the other? Where are the watch bills that would tell me who did I turn to and speak to when I saw what I did in the sky? Because we would be able to narrow it down via cruise book photos or memory and names and stuff like that. But those things don't exist as far as I know. Now, I've never done a FOIA myself, but I've spoken to a lot of people who do them and do them professionally, and they haven't been able to find those corresponding documents that all of us have said, well, go look for this or go look for that.
It has to be there somewhere, because I would assume that the ODNI or the head of any agency or the Joint Chiefs who find out about the Nimitz incident through TV shows, right?
Yep.
Through radio shows like this, and they're going, "This happened when 2004? Who was? Wait, what? And why are we just now finding out about this? And if they are going through, forget about the UAP task force. I'm saying that when the ODNI gets first wind of this, how many planes were launched Right? What? How many? What went
a minimum of 2 sorties plus. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think that what a lot of people don't understand is what we're seeing with the NDAA, the UAPTF, and these efforts is the portion of the United States government and the Department of Defense that is waking up to that exact fact. So you've got a great deal of leaders that are going, hold on a second, how did we not know about this? And you've got senators who are asking questions now. That it's not. We'll get into Skyfort later, but we're dialing a lot less, and the phone's ringing a lot more, because people are asking these questions, and they want to talk to people who were on the record observers, people that were under oath, people that that showed proficiency prior to and after the job and things like that. And so what you're seeing is people asking those questions. This is us in public and the United States government going, what the heck is going on? Why didn't we know about this? Now, a lot of people conflate whoever did know before and whoever was tracking this with the people that are in office now. And I think it's pretty clear. We have 70 plus years of various investigations, whether we're talking Blue Book, Grudge, Sign, etc., going through all of them, where they all ended the same way. Nothing to see here. Close the program. Or if we thought the program had closed, then we found out 20 years later, kept open the whole time, put it under a different name. But by the way, even though we went another 10 or 20 years with this and refunded it four times, nothing to see here. And that nothing to see here really ticks people off. It ticks me off too. But I've gotten to this point where I'm like, we have to progress. And I know that there's enough people that are angry about what may or may not have been reported, kept secret, done, etc. But if we don't choose how we're going to transform from secrecy into openness and keep the ball rolling, and I'm not a big fan of the status quo, so anybody thinks that I want to keep things going the way they've been, that's not the kind of guy I am. I'm a change the world, buy everybody a Coke kind of guy, But I find so much vitriol and I don't want to be negative at all tonight. Not gonna smack the podium, but I find so much vitriol in the community that wants instant answers, that they don't understand that the people are fighting for them may not have. They have some of their own conclusions. They might have a little bit more data, but if we had a clear picture, we're in a place in this world where a lot of people have the intestinal fortitude to just come out and tell the truth, and this has been socialized to the point where it's not just a question of somebody coming out and telling a truth. If some senator came out and went, aliens are real, we're all going to say, where's the proof?
Right.
We don't want to hear any more declarative statements. But we are at the point where UAP's real. The leadership believes it's real. They want to know what the heck it is. They agree. These photos aren't enough. These videos we've seen aren't enough. And even the folks behind the wall of government where they are getting a better picture than the rest of us, those folks are still asking for more, because even what they're seeing isn't definitive enough to walk out in front of a podium and say what the heck's going on. Well, I think if we look at the redactions in these reports, I'll hand it back to you in a sec, but I think if we look at the redactions in these reports, what people are seeing is not what they're hoping for. It's not I won't be silly, but it's not evidence of of communication between aliens and us. It's national defense data, because we haven't determined who the heck this is yet. And if we say what we saw, if it is one of our adversaries, they're going to go, okay, they identified the XYZ system. Let's dial. You know what I mean? You're giving them intel that could hurt us. So this is a very careful thing to do.
Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, Sean Cahill. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the UNX and Game Changer Networks. It's going to be one of those nights on the show. You stay right there, kids. Sean Cahill. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer, Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hi, Race Hobbs with the X. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have an interest in unexplained phenomena like ghosts, Bigfoot, and UFOs. And by now, you know that we have our own X blog, the UnX newsletter, and the UnX magazine quarterly. But most of you don't know that we have started our very own paranormal conference. And this year, for safety, this 2-day XCon will be virtual, so you can attend from the comfort of your home. XCon presenters include Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, Margie Kay and Preston Dennett, Lisa Martin and Wayne Lawrence, Lee Spiegel, Debbie Zagelmeyer, Dan Terry, Kate Grabowski, and Ray Hernandez. There will also be a live paranormal investigation by the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. So come hang out with us in the safety of home as we set out to explain the unexplained Friday, May 13th and Saturday the 14th, 2022. And tickets are on sale now. Go to unxnetwork.com. That's unxnetwork.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright-Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Sean Cahill joins us. We've got a lot to go through tonight. Sean's not going anywhere. He's going to be right with us. He's going to cross the pole at the end of this show for sure. And now, Sean, just for historical context, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, and you've spoken about this enough out in the public, but just for flow and context for this show, where were you on the Princeton the day of? It was a lot of things, but specifically the cap point day. Kevin Day's firing off, planes off the deck, and Fravor heads out. Where were you on that day?
So I think I was in my rack asleep. I was working the night shift at that point, and I think we had a dedicated watch bill where we were either standing the same or very similar watches for a while. And I know that I was asleep when they launched the F-18. I went to watch that night, not knowing that we had gun camera footage. I believe that I got a call from Kevin while on that watch, really kind of harping me to have my guys looking for these things. And because I had to do my portion of the exercise on the bridge during the course of the week while Kevin Day and Gary Voorhees and other people were really running around checking the systems and doing really the hard work. I was just up there running our but as the conning officer of our anti-submarine operation that we were running. So I remember Kevin calling me and just giving me a hard time, going, Sean, please, really take this seriously. Go out there, look at these things. We're pretty sure that they're real contacts. I was like, okay. And took him, I did what he asked and really went out there, talked to all my guys individually, radioed the aft lookout and the forward lookout on the sound powered phones, and told them as well, make all reports to the conning officer. And it was shortly after that I went out on the starboard side, the port bridge wing rather, and started scanning with a pair of binos that I actually still have. And the port lookout was the one looking through what are called the big eyes. And he was scanning in one direction. I scanned towards the port bow when I saw 5 to 7 lights off the port bow at about 2,000 feet, all turned towards the center of this formation they were in and disappear one at a time. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All turning. They would all turn in towards the center and they would disappear. I didn't call Kevin. It was late at night. I went back, I went in, asked the guy I asked the watch stander next to me, did you see that? And we both, utilizing saltier language, said that we had, did the holy crap moment and scanned for a bit more. But then when I went in, I remember going in the bridge and going past the quartermaster's table and just got called back into duty. You know what I mean? We were just doing the operation that we were on. So the next morning I left the bridge that night, just went down to my bed, went to sleep, got up in the morning because we had something we all had to do. And, it was like a regular work day. And when I went out to breakfast, Kevin had a huge smile on his face. And some other folks that I'd eat breakfast with every morning were standing behind him with their coffee, and they're kind of waiting for me to wake up. And I was like, what the hell are we chasing? I was kind of getting ticked with Kev because I was like, what are we doing here, man? You keep bugging me when I'm trying to do stuff that's not natural to my skill set, which is, con of warship. And they were like, you need to go check your SIPR net. And so I went. We were lucky enough to have our own high side station back in the Chief's lounge. And so we all went back there, and I pulled up the Tic Tac video. And it was a really neat moment looking back because we knew what we were looking at, because we knew what we had in our arsenal, and we were all defense professionals. We were nerds too, aviation nerds and stuff like that. So we were as socialized to the alleged black programs and what's the new tester model coming out, that kind of thing.
Right.
This was none of that. And we knew we were looking at IR footage from a FLIR pod on an F-18, and we were smart enough from all of the systems that we utilized, the 22 millimeter cannons. Most of us stood watch down in SWIC in the Combat Information Center, so we understood what we were looking at. And this was no airplane. This was no seagull. This was no balloon. We were not to perseverate on the stuff we know out there, but when you run a ship, every couple of weeks out in the same area, training over and over again, you learn all the local patterns. And something that would really be interesting to people is there's a Mylar balloon graveyard out there. Folks talk about, the big garbage patch out in the middle of the ocean. Well, we have a birthday party balloon graveyard off the coast of California, and we're always watching Mylars come in and things like that. So again, it was a minute where we all looked around at each other and we knew we were having, for lack of a better word, a Roswell moment. We were like, well, if all that was crap, this certainly can't be.
Right. I want to make, I'm not being cavalier. I do need to make this comment, though. Your official Navy photograph in uniform, you got your dresses on, right? You got your dress blues. You look 20 years younger today than your because, sure. And I'm saying this because you're clean cut. Dude, you are an officer of the Navy. That's exactly the image. And I'm picturing that guy because I know this guy, right, that I'm talking to now. Mm-hmm. I see that guy, and that's the guy you want on the bridge. You've got that image, and that's what you are. You're an officer of the Navy. So I'm picturing Kevin Day and everybody else coming up to that guy speaking like this, and that shakes me to my core. You were very serious, and now you guys are at a real holy crap moment. And that naval officer, Chief Cahill, is now looking at this. But when you looked at the video, you said you were in the SWIC.
No, we were in our lounge, but we had a sipper station.
Okay, so you're at the sipper station, so you have access to the footage. Mm-hmm. What version of the footage were you guys looking at? Was it a longer version than the one that we're seeing out in the public?
So that's interesting. I was tracking that for a while as they were coming. One of the way that I hooked up with Lou Elizondo, just to digress for a sec, was when I wrote him at TTSA, I didn't intend to come forward as a witness. I didn't think that what I had seen was very compelling. We had gun camera footage. But what I did say to him was, hey, I was on the bridge. I helped with this. I was there. And I didn't think Gary or Kevin or anybody else. I knew what they did. They knew what they did. We would all say, but if someone wanted to cash in on this and throw some nonsense to it, I was like, hey man, let me know. I'll let you know who was who in the zoo. I was just going to help him out. And the reason that I say that is because this was such a profound moment that years later, I was concerned. I came home from it. I told my family about it, told them everything, and explained everything. So years later, I had validation. But when the videos first came out, I was like, that's what I saw, but it's not as profound as what I saw in 2004. And I tried to figure out, is that because I'm on a better monitor? This is a crappy video. It was never high definition, full color that all the people say that there was. I never saw that, but I did see a longer version. I want to say, and I have my times off because I haven't studied this recently, but I want to say one eventually came out that matched what I saw. It was like 1 minute and 30 seconds or something like that. Mm-hmm. And there was another version that we got in the email that seemed higher quality, but it was a clip of all of the phase changes that the UAP made. So basically it was, how do we take a longer video on an ancient 2004 system, get it small enough that we can shoot it over to you guys and you guys get the gist but don't see the whole video. So it was kind of like a highlight reel. I know this wasn't one of the questions you asked, but let me add that there was a trail of emails, okay, and that preceded that between the operations officer, Teresa Elders, and the operations officer on board the Nimitz, so Princeton and Nimitz OPSOs. And they had a days-long conversation going about, could this be temperature inversions? Can this be a flock of birds? Could it be a bunch of Mylar balloons coming out? They tested everything that the debunkers are still working on. They already knocked that stuff out between the two of them. We're talking about highly educated professionals and warfighters that need to understand their battle space. So an unknown has to be tracked down. You know what I'm saying? And,
yes.
And so these we were not, when we sortie F-18s, we're not sortying F-18s for birds, you know.
The black helicopters are above your house, man. They know that you're on Fade to Black.
There's always helicopters above my house. I live 1 mile north of the training area for the SH-60s here in the largest fleet concentration on the West Coast. So,
it adds an element to the show tonight. So, okay. I don't want to I do actually, but we won't do it now. I would love to go through a play-by-play on all of this and get into specifics. But let's leave that right there. So you were there. You saw the video. You're interacting with Day. Everybody on the ship is talking about it. I like your corkscrew vortex sighting that you had with those objects going to the center and taking off. So you know that there's a phenomena happening, and you guys are trying to chase that down.
Yep.
All right. So what happens next, though, when we hear the reports? You brought this up already, the data disappearing, and there are, you've heard the same things I've heard, comments about helicopters, civilians showing up, retrieving hard drives, and then exiting the fleet. Did you see any of that go down?
No. Now the only thing that I would have that would corroborate that is a former colleague of mine at Naval Air Station North Island that I had worked with before I transferred, because I'd only been on the Princeton maybe 6 months. I got on board, was selected for chief, went through initiation, and we were about 2 months past initiation when I put on my khakis when we encountered the Tic Tac. But I had gone back to Naval Air Station North Island to essentially steal a roll of police tape, because I had ordered some. It hadn't come in on time. I needed to do an event that I needed to rope some stuff off, and I knew they had some. And while I was there, this guy I used to work with pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, Chief, can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Sure." And he was being cagey. He asked if we could go smoke a cigarette, and I smoked, and I knew he didn't. And I thought that was strange. He takes me out to the smoking area, and he bums it, even goes so far as to bum a cigarette off me and light it. And I'm like, "What are you doing, bro? You know, you look weird." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm just nervous." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "You're on the Princeton, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, my wife's on the Nimitz, and she said that something really weird went down when you guys were out." And I was like, "Yeah, something did." And I was holding back because I wanted to know what he was going to say. I wasn't holding back because I wasn't going to tell him. And he said, "Well, my wife," and we talked about the weird thing that happened. He goes, "Well, my wife says that the master at arms on the Nimitz had sequestered the pilots in their staterooms until some non-Navy civilians came on board and debriefed them." And that the pilot, now I haven't verified that. I've never spoken to any of the pilots myself. One of these days, if I ever meet them or we get on the same call or something, I'd like to verify that. And maybe, who knows, maybe they'll verify it or debunk it tonight. But he said that on board the Nimitz, there was an air of all stop with this kind of thing until some folks no one recognized came on board. Now, Gary Voorhees said, I believe he says something similar about a helicopter coming on board Princeton. And I've been asked plenty of times, "You would have known about that.
You would have known,
about that."
right?
Nah, I wouldn't. No, we receive 5, 6, 7 helicopters a day. I would have only known about it if I needed to give the person a rack to sleep in because I was in charge of that.
Okay, but you would have known if they would have sequestered everybody to the rooms until they were...
If that had happened on board my ship, I would have heard about that sooner or later. Yes, and in fact, I would have been involved with it if that had happened on board my ship. It didn't. But hearing it from the person that I heard it from, let me just put it this way. This is a guy that if you knew him, he wouldn't lie to you ever. You know what I mean? He's the kind of guy, he's a very religious cat, very soft-spoken, give you the shirt off his back, wouldn't cheat you out of a penny, and has never made up a story once. So, that's my assessment of the guy, but I take his word that at least his wife told him that happened. You know what I mean? And it was very commensurate with what we had gone through the week before.
Yeah, that's a question for Fravor. I mean, that's a question for Dave, which I don't think anybody's asked. I've never heard this get addressed. He's been asked everything, right? Well, there's still something left on the table, and I would like. Okay, let's work on that one. I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Okay, so now moving on. You deploy, you do your things. You've got another 13, 14 years in the Navy after this incident. You left in 2015. This is 2000. So another 11 years. Was there any more chatter over the next 11 years about this incident? Number one, okay, you just said no, so you answered that, right? Okay, so there wasn't any chatter throughout the Navy. Somehow this was kept at sea, if you know what I mean. I
understand the metaphor.
Right. And did you have any other incidents similar to this?
So that's up until this point, I haven't made a big point of talking about, things I've seen and stuff like that other than the Tic Tac. I've talked about them on a couple of shows, but I did. I had a point after we filmed Unidentified. I'd become good friends with our security guy and medic that was on set with us and with one of the camera operators, and we had carried on a conversation because this was years ago. We didn't know if we were ever going to see Lou again. We'd spent time a couple weeks on a boat with him. We'd learned about the 5 observables ahead of time before they came out on the show or that Lou had started talking about them. And I mean, a lot of us are pretty, pardon me for saying, spoiled these days with how much we've learned. And I don't mean to say, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we don't deserve to learn everything, but we forget that there was a time when the 5 observables were brand new and our minds were blown that we were being told that something was operating in these parameters, which I still think we should focus on. But I say that because these guys finally said to me, they go, we've had enough conversation where you've told us about weird stuff you've seen while we're trying to figure out these other details. Why don't you go write down everything? Go meditate. Pull out some family pictures and things like that. Do what you need to do to spark your memory and start writing down everything weird. And so I started, and by the time I got done, I had a whiteboard full of what you and I as researchers would be like, that's UAP. You know what I mean? That's either high strangeness or and let's be frank, there's another side of the coin to that none of us like talking about in the community. Could it be mental illness? And so I had to search all those areas out. I went to a therapist. I talked about these things. I was lucky enough to find someone open-minded enough. But I was shaken by the fact that, Sean, the couple of UFOs that you thought you saw in your life amount to a little bit more than that. And after getting really into this subject and stuff, I'm still incredibly curious and I've not arrived at any conclusions, but I've got a pretty profound black triangle sighting over my house 5 months after the Tic Tac incident. I've got some really weird memories that involve, frankly, with saucers and what most of us would consider to be archetypal figures that other people report in them. I hold a lot of that close to the chest because I'm in a space right now where if I start saying all that stuff, a lot of people are going to make generalizations. I think we jump to a lot of conclusions, make a lot of generalizations. I'm not claiming any conclusions of experience. I have perceptions and memories, and so they don't come through for me painting a completely linear picture that makes sense. And when I study the data of other witnesses and so-called channelers and remote viewers, et cetera, which I do find that information to be valuable if you're willing to understand what analytical overlay and what emotional overlay are. But I still have an unknown in my life. Now I have an unknown that I seem to bump into. My family and I have recently, in the last couple of weeks, experienced, what some people like to call the hitchhiker effect. And frankly, as a family, we're pretty happy and healthy and well-balanced and get along good. And so I don't have the same kind of brush to paint my experiences with that I did just a couple of years ago or even 10 or 15 years ago. So now I kind of live in this interesting bubble where to me, we all have a lot of observing to do. Kind of an observe and report for each other until we can get a consensus. Because I think between the two of us, what I've experienced, what I've seen, what I've witnessed, isn't that much different than a lot of other people. But it's just that I can't find enough people that group together to agree on what that experience means. You know what I'm saying? It's not that
I do. My only comment to that, Sean, and maybe you'll find comfort in this, but there can't be one specific type of craft or race of beings or planets that is visiting us. The number is just too large, and we may not be seeing the same thing even twice. Right?
And it leads us to a really important question that I think that all of us in this field of study need to see the two sides of a coin. A lot of us want to see a plethora of visitors. Some of us see a single point of control,
right,
and perception. And I think that's one of the first answers that we have to endeavor to find out, because I don't have that answer. I'm just as confused. Is Jacques Vallée right? Are we seeing a masquerade? Or are we seeing something that is completely outside of what we've been studying and talking about? Are we seeing an after effect, or even a complete ruse? You know what I mean? Are there 1,000 varieties because the roulette wheel changes every time? Every time somebody sees something, does it? There's some archetypes. Yeah, there's a 7. There's some cherries.
Right.
And some people seem to get 3 cherries. And
Yes. Okay. But you didn't answer the question, though.
Oh, let me do it. Let me try again.
Okay. So we've got 60 seconds. Give it your best shot. While deployed, did you go through another incident like the Nimitz?
Not in 20 years. No, nothing else on active duty.
Because you've heard the same things that I've heard, and they're out there in the media. We've been encountering these every day for a couple of years off of the East Coast.
I can verify the rumor mill on that. I speak to folks, non-officially. I live in the fleet concentration area. Yeah, our destroyers and cruisers are getting, I hate to say chased back, but they're going out and the range is fouled and they can't train. That has happened on more than one occasion in the last couple of years.
Now, I like the foul comment because that is also in the UAPTF report. And I like the way you just dropped that. What is a foul? Well, we're not talking baseball. We'll do that when we come back after the break. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Sean Cahill is with us. When we come back, I'm going to save the UAP task force report for the next break, because when we get back after the break, it's all about Skyfort. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse. Now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Sean Cahill is with us tonight. Tomorrow night's Fader night with open lines all night long. And what a great conversation so far. And I've got this vibe that we're just getting started. And I hate to let the last segment go, but we've got too much to get into tonight. And Sean, last year, I started to get these emails, right? And, okay, church, if you really want to know what's going on, check out Skyfort. This is the agencies, man. They've got this project, Skyfort. And it was just coming in and coming in and coming. And now I got to say, just the name just gets the imagination going. Right? Okay. All right. Now, I'm just going to straight up. Is this an agency-led project?
No. It's not as glamorous as people think.
Okay. All right. What's going on? What is Skyfort?
Well, as our website does say, we are a think tank and incubator that's working on the UAP problem. We're most interested in getting people, the right subject matter experts that can attack this problem the right way, networked, educated, and invigorated, frankly. And then really there's not much for us to do after that.
You know, that is the most vague thing I've ever heard.
And that really sets people off, man.
Right.
Let me give you a few key details. Last year I made $38 at Skyfort. I'm very proud of that.
Right on.
That, in fact, my wife's really proud of that $38. It went a long way. But Skyfort looks pretty, but Skyfort is 3 friends who saw that Lou needed help. And we said to ourselves, well, what can we do? So we went and we visited him, and we helped him, frankly, just administratively, taking a load off of him, making a few calls for him, helping with his scheduling, helping, frankly, vet folks. He's got an inbox full of folks that all want something from him. Who's gonna provide, Frank, let's be real, man. Who's a startup? Who's established? Who's doing good research? Who's all over the map? Or I don't like using the word woo. We use it too much. That needs to be part of our studies and our science. We need to understand what we call woo. But that's what we were. We came together to do that. But we looked at each other and we're like, how are we going to do this as 3 dudes? And we said to ourselves, well, how do companies form? Well, one dude or woman, a guy or a man or a woman decides they're going to form a company. Well, there's 3 of us. Let's form a company. And so we went through a process of saying to ourselves, do we just need to be a website? Because what we're doing is really classified as activism. If you think about it, we are activists trying to bring clarity to a subject that we think is mired down in nonsense. We have been exposed to some of the clarity because that's through the folks that we've worked with. Now we have to, I don't want to keep calling it nonsense because we're talking about a field all of us take very seriously. So I don't want to keep saying that. But we're like, honestly, man, the world's doesn't take people seriously unless they, how they say you put on grab a clipboard and put on a hard hat and you can get in anywhere.
Theatrics is half of the sale.
So we have a website, we have a mission statement, and we formed an LLC. But that, like I said, $38 last year. We're not in this to make money. We're not courting contracts. We're not courting anything. We got together so we would have a way to shelter ourselves, a tax shelter for expenses and things like that. But this has all come out of our pocket helping a friend. And because of where that friend comes from, and I'm not busting your chops, man, but just like earlier when you were trying to break down what I did for a living, you're like, that sounds like it's clandestine. Sounds like
right.
This is another one of those things that we got to peel the born identity veneer off of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it is what it is. We were just as shocked as everybody else when Tucker Carlson, quote unquote, outed us on his show. And there was a minor kerfuffle over that with people thinking that we were pushing out things and claiming they were a certain way. It's like, nah, man. Literally before a friend went on a show, we pulled documents off, either out of our archives or off the internet. And we were like, we think these would be useful. And there was a mix up with a producer where they thought we were, this was provided by Skyfort. And so a lot of gravitas got put underneath us and assumptions at first, but we had to rush that night. We weren't publishing anything yet. We weren't, there was no big announcement. And then we had to rush to lock our website up because I think it was Adam Kehoe, walked behind the WordPress stuff, to see all the metadata. And we were like, holy geez, man, we haven't even set our names yet. And we've already got folks, I'm not going to call that hacking. That's just, looking at page source.
Right.
And no disrespect to Adam because he was doing his job and he reached out to us and asked us questions and did us a solid. Well,
the rumors got started very, very quickly, and things got out. So let's clarify some of this because a big chunk of it was this is an agency-led management front that is handling Lou Elizondo, that is going to be initiating the government interface between what is going on, what Lou is presenting, is going to handle everything with the media from now on and how Lou presents himself and what show he's going to go on. They are going to negotiate with the producers, with all. You heard the same things that I heard, right?
Sure. And I'm curious. If all those people have that evidence, why don't they slam us? That just sounds like another narrative. See that, and that's again, I want to keep it positive with you and I, because you and I have good rapport, man. I think we can have a great conversation.
Right.
I'm not worried that we're going to go down a negative road. But let's be real.
Right.
That's the problem in our field right now. Is someone said, "Here's what I think's going on." I'm so tired of that. I get it, but let's take the data and let's pull it in, and then let's say, "Here's what I think's going on based on the following evidence." Not based on my feeling, because I don't trust spooky, shadowy 3-letter agency people and ex-military folks. We can't live on this moment of I support the troops unless it goes against my politics or what I want, or I support the
Yes,
that's the thing. So I can't play that game.
No, I can't either. And look, I've been up against the same thing. I'm a CIA operative. I'm a CIA shill. Yeah. People pay me to come on this show. And by the way, thank you for the $38 to come on the show tonight. And I've been up against that I am some agency supported talking head. Yeah. And I've been fighting, and it's so funny, Sean. I say the same thing that you've just said right now. Walk a day in my shoes. See what I actually do.
Yeah.
There is no. And if the agency is pulling it off, they're really good at their job, because I'm not aware of any of it.
Well, and they're still hiding my paycheck. I assume they're hiding yours too.
Yeah, I haven't cashed it yet.
Just hoping for that back pay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm anxious to see that CIA check and see what that thing looks like. Okay, so and the ultimate objective for Skyfort. I've read your mission statement, but for you here, for the audience, what is the mission statement?
For me, the mission statement on the website, anybody can read that. But for me, getting back to a couple of things you asked about, the name, the iconography, some of the pictures we use and stuff like that. To me, when we were trying to come up with a name, we wanted to come up with something, of course, that was cool. We're not going to lie about that. We wanted something that was cool, and we wanted something that made sense to the subject. You're not going to call yourself the Pineapple Brothers and get into the apple business, but when I looked at it, I thought, we started throwing names around, things like that, having fun with it. And when someone else threw out Sky something, somebody said Skynet, and it became a really bad joke. Like, we were just going to throw Sky out of the whole thing. We're like, that's just asking for it. And there's 1,000 other Skynets, and no one wants to be associated with that name. But I said, what about a Skyfort? And we had a conversation about it, and they were like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, to me, things have multifaceted meaning. I like things that have multifaceted meanings. I like a title of a song that has a deeper meaning than the lyrics, and a juxtaposition of the music. So I said, well, a Skyfort, that's where you keep your lofty values. That's where you keep your big ideals. And that's where you raise up your dreams and you do things like that. And when we started talking about iconography, I was like, man, a freaking triangle coming out from behind a cloud, to me, seems like the biggest message we can send of what we want to show. We want to bring things out from being obscured and bring them into the light where we can all see them. And some folks might not like the flowery nature of all that, but to me, that's the kind of stuff that really hammers home an ideal. You don't just grab a flashy picture and a cute name. It's got to mean something to you. And whatever we're dealing with here, I want it to come out and identify itself, most certainly. But if it's not going to, then I want us to find it.
Do you think is the Department of Defense and any of the 19 intelligence agencies that are running today, we can even talk about private corporations, are they sitting on the real stuff? Is there crash retrievals? Do they have technology not of this earth? Are they sitting on film clips? Do they have interviews with little grays at Area 51 on tape? Are they sitting on that information?
Now, at the risk of validating any of those specific points, let me give you a blanket answer of I think so. I do think that the information of the type that we seek as a constituency,
a community,
Yeah, as a community, I do believe that the evidence we seek exists in the places that you mentioned. Now, what is the quality of that evidence? What is the preponderancy of that evidence? What are the conclusions? I do not know. Are we going to be incredibly disappointed? Are we going to be shocked and awed? I don't know. However, I think that we've gotten to a point in this subject where we would be remiss to say we can't say there's no past. We can't say that there's no secrecy, that there's no shady men involved in this and military industrial complex warnings by men like Dwight D. Eisenhower, et cetera. We would be silly, we would be ostriches with our head in the sand to ignore what seems obvious to the most casual observer, that a 70-year cover-up has gone on. Now, I want to say that we should be careful, and I'm so afraid people are going to think of me as an apologist, but the Department of Defense is not an edifice with a loudspeaker on it that pumps out one mission, one goal, etc. It's a very large structure. Within that structure, there are people, and I'm not blaming this on bureaucrats. I'm not blaming it completely on career politicians or career defense officials. But we know that there are people that do have careers that span those periods of time. They do carve out fiefdoms for themselves, create allies. They do have ideologies that may be contrary to those of the American people or the constituency that they represent. As I mentioned on a previous show, we've seen our representatives argue at their town halls with their constituents. Where have we gotten when they're not listening? When they're trying to tell the people what to think instead of listening to what the people think. I may not agree with every constituency in this country, but a community that can come together and express themselves has a right to be represented in Washington, D.C. So the question is how are we going to get from, frankly, we may have got screwed, to how do we get better? Honestly, let's break it down to brass tacks. I think the first thing that we have to do is create a mechanism for those who are aware of those programs, who would be willing to tell us about them, to come forward and to do so. Some kind of executive oversight, some kind of overarching authority needs to provide a place where people can come out and tell the truth. The people with the NDAs, the people that there are rumors of threats against them, whether it's reputational or whether it's in body, those people need to be given a safe harbor, a place where they can come into and finally be debriefed and finally report. And frankly, I think a lot of people are going to want to hang any representative high that comes out and takes any kind of responsibility for the past. And I'm alluding to what we've all researched, and I'm not going to call out any specifics, but if a single law was broken in the course of a 70-year investigation, you know we have to focus on that. Law and order is important. Our Constitution is important. But if we get mired down in that, if we can't move forward with these studies and understand them, if we can't find those programs, bring them out, have the national defense data scrubbed from them, and have them declassified to a point where the philosophers, the religious experts, the academics, the Sam Harrises, and no offense to you and me, but not the Jimmys and the Seans, but the ones who dedicated their life to figuring out the other stuff, who were convinced this was nonsense, because we convinced our best this was nonsense.
And you know what? This is what frightens me. I need your opinion on this. The conversation that we are having right now about probably the most important subject in the history of the world, right? Okay. And that's not a joke. That's not that's non-trivial, trivial, however you want to take that. Going back to Sam Harris, actually, is we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't for Paco and fighter sweep. This wasn't a TTSA thing. This wasn't even a Lou Elizondo thing. This wasn't an OSAP thing or an ATIP thing. It wasn't any, or New York Times. If that article wasn't written on Paco's site, we don't have Dave Fravor. And then we don't have, and then we don't have, and then we don't have, right? We can kind of go back and look at that moment of time. Yep. And if Paco didn't do that, You and I are not having this conversation. The Gillibrand Amendment doesn't happen. Right?
You're right.
The
You're right.
The NDAA doesn't happen. Marco Rubio statements don't happen. Right? Doesn't that scares me? Because the cover
there's a lot of this that might not have happened.
Right.
There's a lot of this that I think could still not happen. I mean, it is incredible the risks that were taken by people, the tenacity of some of those people. I can't lay a single brick of shame on anyone who came into this with fire and might have got burned and changed their mind, because it takes a different kind of attitude to open up your inbox every day and have people accusing you of being a shill, a CIA front, a wannabe messiah, some kind of nonsense for the next load of crap.
Right.
You've experienced it too. Of course you have. I know you. We discussed that, and you're armored to it. But guiding yourself through that and still giving a darn every day, it takes a lot. But we have to change things, man. I'm serious. The status quo has to go, and people have to have the same kind of courage of conviction that Paco had, that Commander Fravor had, that Lou had, and the courage to keep fighting. I'm not going to get into anybody's argument over TTSA. Fact is, Lou was an employee there and he left a job. You know what I'm saying? And after that, he hasn't stopped. He's put himself at more risk. And again, not going to harp on it, not here to just, swing for Lou. But you got people going, where's your W-2? Where's your letterhead? First of all, my W-2 said USN for 20 years, no matter what my title or, it had my pay grade and USN on it. Beyond that, I covered numerous programs over the course of my career that the handoff and all of the data back and forth occurred via official correspondence on email. Now, we all know that the DOD erased Lou's emails. They erased his PSTs, his archives, and everything, something that they had to keep around for a few years. We've still got people dedicating their whole career right now to details, minor details, when you got a wall of people supporting him. I've met the UAP task force head myself. And you know who he was introduced to me as? The guy who took over for Lou. And he told me himself, yeah, Lou ran ATIP. I've known, that person hasn't come out and made that bold statement in public yet. But I'm one of those folks that's met him and met all the other, not all of the other, but many of the other people that worked in ATIP and in and around some of the other programs. There's not a single person that's ever said anything but, no, Lou ran it. And so we have a picture here that's not unlike the larger picture we're looking at. We know things, we know we have evidence for things. We know that it makes sense if they put all the evidence together. But for some reason, that smoking gun that would make us all happy is missing. Well, who took it? Well, the people that erased Lou's emails, one would assume, are the same people that are hiding details from us, that are trying to stop these programs, take over their names, insert themselves in the conversation. And I want to know why. Why is it that sitting senators are interested? Sitting senators find this to be a very compelling, worthwhile subject that they're pushing forward in the midst of a war. And you'll have a lot of people that would say, oh, it's a cover-up for the war. Man, that war's covering us up right now. We can't get our info out there. So who's stopping the people who want to bring this out into the light, and why? Because we're not talking national defense data anymore. We're not talking about needing to redact systems and methods. We're talking about people that are trying to stop a man or a movement. And I wonder if that's going to have its roots and tendrils in this larger problem.
When last year, we've got 4 minutes before the break. Last year, when the conversation started about the emails, Danny Sheehan and Lou, now they're going to the AG, right? And the office, the ODNI, Director of National Intelligence, suddenly, when that investigation gets announced, Sean, about who was talking about UAPs, what was done about UAPs, was there anything offensive done about UAPs? Were we shooting at that said to me that they were unaware of all of this, including Susan Goff making these public statements, because it appeared to me that they didn't know any of this, and there has been actions taken when it comes to UAPs, including like erasing emails, right? And nobody at the top knew about it.
And let's not forget that Susan Go has made statements that are completely contradictory to her predecessors. How does that happen? How does a positive known become a negative unknown?
Which is my point, though.
Yeah,
that's my point, because ODNI now and the AG want to know who was saying what about this, and we only want to hear from the bosses. We want to hear from 15s on down and their equivalent, right?
Yep.
Okay? But that says to me that they were very confused about the mixed messages and who was giving the orders, who is telling people what to do when it comes to the subject of UAPs, right? And that's what came to the surface last year.
I think what people don't realize is that because we make that jump from there were programs to the government is hiding things from us. I think what you're seeing now is what we've been talking about for years, is the stovepiping and compartmentalization within government and programs that don't report back to executive oversight.
Right.
And the question is how can we have in this constitutional system portions of our government, things that are funded by the American people, that have no oversight? That's not allowed. The checks and balances must go all the way up to the top and all the way back down to the people. And there are things that exist within there. Our classification system doesn't exist, regardless of what all of us might think, to keep some kind of amazing technology away from us. That's not why it was written. You know, and I often use something like anthrax as an example, that we don't want everyone to have the recipe for a biological weapon. That should be secret. Do these things need to be secret? What's going on here? Why the over secrecy on some fundamental items that we all need to understand our world? So
is that the onion you were talking about earlier too, as well? Because once you do, there's 1,000 directions to go in, and you peel back one layer of that onion and take a peek. That's a holy crap moment, because you've got 50 or 1,000 questions that need to be answered, not one.
Correct. And in a lot of ways, the people in our community are some of the only people that have asked those questions in the same room at the same time. That includes you and all the folks that are listening tonight.
Sure.
We are educated in this field up to a level that the public is not.
Don't you find that fascinating too, as well? This community is not dumb, and this community this community, for the most part, shows a level of patience. We've been at this for 70 years, and pushing and pushing and pushing. The ones that are impatient are the ones that read the New York Times article in December of 2017, and now suddenly they're interested in the subject. They haven't devoted 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years into the pursuit of disclosure and trying to figure out what's going on.
Yep. There's a long road to making a lot of this make sense to people, and that's. I don't want people to think I don't harp on the entertainment aspect. I don't like it, or excuse me, I don't dislike it. I enjoy that myself. But at this juncture, it's very important that we're able to show people the difference between the two. And frankly, a lot of our entertainment is very informative. Let's be real. Very informative.
Yeah, like this show, Sean.
Yes. No, you're right. No, you're right, Jimmy. You're 100% right.
And I will always, not only support the community, but I'm learning something every night on this show, like with you right now. Our guest tonight, Sean Cahill. This is Fade to Black on the NX and Game Changers Network. Raise Hobbs. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes non-fiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to wtih.com. That's wtih.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to wtih.com. That's wtih.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to wtih.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's wtih.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit unitedgoldgroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Sean Cahill. Sean brought his A game tonight. And UAPs. Now, here's the deal, Sean. I'm going to ask you just a couple of quick questions, and then I want to move on to the great work of John Greenwald and the Black Vault, and do an analysis here. But a couple of quick questions. One, Lou has leaned towards, and suggested that he has seen some of the craziest UFO video evidence in the history of mankind. Okay. Has he?
I believe he has, yeah.
Have you?
Not the same stuff he's seen.
Say that again. Repeat.
Not the same stuff he's seen.
Oh, Have you seen stuff that I haven't seen?
Well, yeah, because you weren't with me. But no. But let me clarify that because the little wordplay we're getting can get people confused.
Sure.
Do I think Lou has seen the evidentiary things that would blow our minds? Yes, I do.
Okay.
I've seen things in my own eyes, with my own eyes, that are commensurate with some of the things that he has seen on video. Me sharing stories, like some of those stories with him, allows him an ability to, without telling me things that he can't tell me, socialize to me that what I'm talking about is probably valid and important to talk about. So I look forward to a day when he has the type of protection, or where the declassification occurs, or the right FOIAs occur. I say to say the right ones, but I think what we're looking at here is people that can't break their oaths. Now, these people can do work towards removing the stipulations placed on them by those oaths, and they can try to change the system so those oaths and those NDAs or those restrictions are no longer important. I think that there are other people that look at this like perhaps we'll have to go around some of these things, and there's a lot of efforts that are trying to apply machine learning to data to try to just try to figure out what were they researching that they can't tell us. Maybe we can get that ourselves into the public sector and start working on it. While we're working on this declassification program, I think it's important that we start really looking at this in a way that is there a video that's going to change any of our minds? Is there one that we're all going to accept? We run up against this thing nowadays where, I get sent videos constantly. I have a couple of folks here that are local that I'm going to go visit them, set up some cameras with them, try to replicate, see if we can get what they've sent me, try to add a little bit more, stability and professional acumen to the evidence collection. But we have to start saying to ourselves, this is real. Let's start looking at it while we work on the classification program. And we have to ask ourselves also, if that evidence we crave is presented to us, are we going to believe it? We're at a point now where we're still arguing whether disclosure has happened, because all of us have a different belief, 31 flavors as to what disclosure means.
Sure.
To me, it's happened. To me, the United States government set up a unidentified aerial phenomena task force. They've admitted to us that there were follow-on programs past the 70s and the 80s of the long-term Blue Book era, and we can make assumptions that when ATIP shut down, somebody was running something somewhere. Somebody was still watching things, So we have this not a cornucopia, bad word. We have a succotash here. We got beans, and we got corn, and we got all kinds of stuff in here.
Right.
And if we focus on the beans, let's focus on the fact that we're here. We have government oversight. We have elected officials interested. We have the private sector interested. Thought leaders are paying attention. We're going to get into this, but just in the last 24 hours, almost all of the dirds just got put out there. We have a lot of stuff to go through, and there's data in there that people are going to get in and start peeling off things. They're going to say, I knew it because of this thing. And they're going to pull this one little nugget out and they're going to run with that nugget. I would caution people, read the whole report. Read the whole report from start to finish.
Yeah, I did that today. But here's the thing. I am with you in that disclosure has already happened. And I've also seen what I've seen. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking about sightings. Yep. So I'm okay with that. But you know what? That's not good enough for most people. That's simply not.
Not good enough for me either.
Yeah, it's simply not. We need to cross that line for those out there that no matter what you and I say, or Lou, or even a Chris Mellon, or Linda Moulton Howe, or whatever, Richard Dolan, that's not good enough. Yep. Until we get an official announcement on live television that we are not alone in the universe, until we get to that point, that's everybody else is left in the dark. They have their families and people that around them, and their employers, and the things, and where they can go, look.
Yep.
This just happened. Now we can move forward, and that's where it's at. Okay, next question, and then we're going to get to this report. There was this infamous, I'm going to say infamous with the true definition of infamous, and if you don't know that definition, look it up. Infamous triangle photograph that went around the agencies, and everybody's been talking about for the last couple of years, and showing the perfect crystal clear image of a triangle coming out of the water and taking flight.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this photograph?
I have not. I have heard about that photograph. I have heard details as to the actual photograph, what state it's in, what format is it, things like, details that would help me if I did come across it one way or the other to vet it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I've never seen it. I can tell you with 100% assurance, I haven't handled any classified material. Nothing that is classified has been leaked to me, given to me, shared with me, any of that stuff. The folks that I work with, they don't play with these things. That your livelihood is destroyed and you go to jail, if you mess with that stuff.
Have you talked to somebody who has seen the triangle photograph?
Numerous people.
Really?
Yeah.
It's elusive, man. Do you think it will get leaked at some point? And second part, do you think that image was part of the classified section of the UAP Task Force report?
I wouldn't speculate on that because I haven't seen the classified portion of the task force report. So, and I would say that I am not aware of the chain of custody of origin of it. There's some illusion that it's kind of floating out there. So, or in more inboxes than you might expect.
That's right.
But let me say this: I hope it's not leaked. And I'm not going to be a big jerk about leaks, but I don't like leaks. Leaks are almost, as a law enforcement officer, a leak is almost unusable. It's the fruits of the poisonous tree. If something leaves the system in an unlawful manner, it loses evidentiary value. I hope it's not leaked. I hope that someone somewhere finds the right combination of words or reads the right standard operating procedure to say, hey, this is just a photograph. But if we can release it and provide context, this would go a long way to helping people understand what we're dealing with. We have the unclassified reports on the schedule. We can look at that schedule now and look ahead, and I'd have to go to my notes to pull them up. But I want people to understand the classified reports must occur first. The people in leadership positions in the military and within the Department of Defense and government must understand the data when it regards national defense before the people do. Once the people understand it, the quote-unquote enemy, adversary, or person that you're trying to counteract has all the information that you have. People have to understand it's not as simple right now of just saying aliens exist, because I don't know that those conclusions exist. As you and I talked about, there are differing aspects of this that, again, the generalized public are going to find crazy when they find out. What do you mean? What is psychotronics? What do you mean by a masquerade? And at the end of the day, we're talking about a phrase that scares the crap out of all of us: mind control.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now,
that's really scary.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, foreign adversary technology, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I understand things need to stay secret. I totally get that, and I respect it. But ET, off-world, why should that be classified?
Well, I think you and I could get into the pretty simple answers on that one, first of all. Which religion is going to claim the aliens as their own, and which religion is going to claim that they're the antithesis of their own? How are we going to, we can't even agree right now, okay, on equal rights for humans, okay? We can't agree that a person has the right to practice their own religion without being party to genocide in some parts of the world, where pardon me for getting into uncomfortableness of this, but where genital mutilation is still occurring for religious practices. That happens in the Western world as well. We have a lot of things as individuals and as a society that we have not matured past, and we want to make these blanket assumptions about the things that we're observing. And a lot of people don't appreciate it when I do this, but fix your house first, realize what's important to you, focus on your loved ones, stabilize your humanity, then attack this dragon that's in the dark with all of your might. But until you have that nest of understanding and stability behind you, these things are incredibly scary. And that kind of fight or flight really causes us to jump to conclusions. And I think we just need more people to just dial back our assumptions and say, how are we all going to deal with this in the now and move forward? It's not as simple as one video, one speech. And I think that what we're bumping into is whether we've identified it as 1,000 different groups of aliens or one control system, where's our part in it? Is it a natural part of our system? Has this been inserted into our system in between us and what we would consider our manifest destiny as a sentient animal? Mm-hmm. And is that a concept that even has meaning in the greater universe? We're at the bottom of a gravity well, and we've only left just up to our nearest satellite. We've sent robotic craft to the edge of our solar system. They haven't left the heliopause yet. And our not to go across the whole rainbow of it, but quantum physics shows us a very different picture of reality than the macro level most of us are waking up and looking at throughout our day. So when we ask, why are these things classified, we start realizing that to get to the point of not losing your business and changing every aspect of your life or reacting, if we haven't matured some of these ideas to enough, I can understand why people would keep this from us. I don't like it. I think I'm an intelligent, mature human being who's reached a point in his life where I want to know what's the level above. And can it teach me something about how I treat the level I'm at and the level below me? When I go stand around cattle, I feel a lot of my humanity. Because the stuff we study about this says that something is looking in on us and tending to us. Mm-hmm. A lot of us get that vibe. And you've got people on one side of the coin that say it's a bad thing and it's doing something that I don't want it to do to us. And you have other people that say, no, it's here to lift us up and to teach us and to help us ascend. I can generally look at that system and go, well, what am I doing within my own system to make it better? I'm not saying go vegan. I'm not vegan. I told you before our call, I ate McDonald's tonight. Yes, I mean, that's like the worst of the assembly line, foods.
But it tasted good.
Yeah, bro, we are hitting some deep philosophical issues here.
We are. And here, okay. So putting all of that on the table and recognizing it is noble, and I get that. But the Tic Tac is protected because it was out of the public view. That's a protected situation. Mm-hmm. But if that 7-vehicle vortex that you saw happens over the 5 freeway in San Diego during rush hour, and you've got a Dave Fravor 40-foot wingless craft zipping around above the traffic, now you've got a situation that the government has to deal with immediately.
And let's. I imagine you have TikTok and all the other platforms.
Yes.
And TikTok's great for getting a lot of info in you at once. But I see 50 UAP videos a day. Let's talk about it. one of those occurs over the 5 here in San Diego, like you said. You and I watch it on TikTok for the next week. We see it on YouTube. It gets passed around. The debunkers grab it and start getting into the pixelation and the metadata and everything else. Where's the government? Where is the FAA? Where is someone that we can turn to and go, hey, we got 50 cell phones here that all took this. Is this going anywhere? Is anyone looking at it? I'm hoping that once the task force, for lack of a better word, let's just use that general term for the ongoing effort. Once the task force gets through consolidating the data, we saw the initial report. I have it right here. It's compelling if you're being introduced to this subject. It's yesterday's news if you're not. So but we have to realize that process has to occur. You and I have admitted, seems like there's people that don't know what's going on and they're concerned. Seems like they want to dig around with the people that don't want to talk about it. That has to be classified, looked at. Let's look forward to the unclassified report. If that's another 2-pager with no conclusions, no videos, no data, no progress, you're going to find me railing against it with everybody else, because that is the right place to start explaining things if we have explanations. And so that's why I'm patient, because I can see the roadmap ahead and I can see the place where we should be properly triggered if we don't get what we expect. But I think up until this point, we've gotten more than I would have expected. Seeing the DIRDs come out, seeing credit to Keith Basterfield on that. I really want to shout out to him and to John Greenwald for what we got in the last couple of days. But I think that shows us a real sea change back at the department. You know, that FOIA came in and it went right back out. And to have the 37 DIRDs come out in as large of an unredacted sense as they did, that's incredible to me. I think we have to get socialized and educated to what we just got in our laps. Mm-hmm. And then we have to take that forward and use that as a lens to look at these classified and unclassified reports as they come out. Because now we know what was studied. Now we know what was taken seriously. You get into some of the details in some of those reports, I'm not going to be surprised if we have people in the community that are going to recognize concepts and things that they may have been exposed to that they don't understand. I think that going forward to interview witnesses who have read the DIRDs and are picking out salient points and have something to add, I think that's another area we need to look at. Right now, to me, those are the most important thing. If our thought leaders are not getting deep in those defense intelligence research documents, right? If I flubbed the acronym, I apologize. But if they're not getting deep into those, then they're missing the whole point right here. Because that is not Project Blue Book. That is not sign or grudge.
But did it hit you? Because I've been sitting on those 37 DIRDs now for 4 or 5 years, right? I sent everything.
There's more than a few copies of them out there.
Right. I've been sitting on it for a long time, and I never went public with it. And let me tell you why. Mm-hmm. And I called Greenwald right away. I sent it to him. I said, this is 4 years ago. I sent it to Dolan. And we read through everything together. And I said, you know what, man? This is just fantasy. This is science fiction. That's the way it read to me. It was somebody's imagination pushing things out. I forget the requirement, where are we going to be in 20 years or whatever it was. But it just read as science fiction. I could have written one of those and gotten paid. And that's why I didn't feel that it didn't feel official to me. It just felt like it was theoretical science fiction based on science, of course, but just a hard look into the future.
So let me ask you a question, and I'm not busting chops here. It surprises you as a lifelong UFO researcher that a UFO report had stuff in it that you were aware of?
I'm not sure if going back and looking at that though. I don't know if there was a UFO component to any one of the 37.
Really?
Yeah. Now, go back and read it again, Read each one because each one is a different subject.
Sure. I find the one on cockpits really compelling.
Yes, but there's not an alien component to it. And there's not a UFO component to it.
Oh, well, I think what you're missing here is the advanced aerial. I'm not great with acronyms. ATIP, okay?
Yes.
Pardon me for not spelling it out. I can't do it right now. ATIP was studying advanced aerial threats. Okay? Let me be simple enough to say I think we've seen in the last 6 or so weeks that the advanced aerial threats were not coming out of Russia. Now, a lot of us could speculate that, they're holding them in abeyance and they just want to lose really hard, really bad, and look stupid on the world stage, and then they're going to show us. I don't buy that. Other people are going to say the Chinese, they've got it. It must be the Chinese. Well, we just moved to from gotta be Russia to must be Chinese.
yes. Or Israel.
Right. Or Israel, and don't get me wrong, man. I could probably get into a freaking 3-hour-long conversation with you and Rich Dolan over where the private sector falls into things like breakaways or those hypotheses. But I think that what we've seen, what we have to say to ourselves is what was ATIP studying? Okay. If we don't believe that if we in this community don't believe the threat, as we call it in the military, because it's until it's identified and until it is friendly and until we have treaties and memorandums of understanding and all of that stuff, military and law enforcement personnel look at intruders as a threat.
Sure.
Not getting into the argument of do they live here with us that makes them not intruders. I don't know. Those are the answers we're all looking for. But we look at it a certain way, and so we're going to identify that. What I'm saying is I'm just getting back to the fact that we need to identify these things. And in the military, we identify what we know. As I said on Twitter the other day, a loitering aircraft over a test range is a low, slow flyer. And it will remain a low, slow flyer in all the stuff the folks are writing. They may say an unidentified low, slow flyer. No sailor's ever going to write UAP or UFO because they don't know what the heck that is.
Right.
They do now, possibly. There might be a check mark now. But for the last 70 years, no one's been socialized to the idea that anything like that is real. So we're past that. And I guess I feel like I lost a little bit of the plot of what you asked me.
I was talking about the references in the DIRDs and if they were actually directly related to UFOs, aliens, ETs, stuff off planet. But we're going to head to a break. We never got to the UAPTF report. We will do that when we come back. But there was one thing, and part of the DIRDs is Dr. Eric Davis. Mm-hmm. And so Dr. Eric Davis has a quote attributed to him in the New York Times 2 years ago, buried in this article by Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal, where he says, I briefed the Senate Intelligence Committee and told them that we are in possession of flying saucers not of this planet, right? Okay, well, I'm paraphrasing, but that's
sure.
that. He said it very, very directly. Now, that says a lot in that the New York Times is not going to print that unless they vetted where that came from.
Right.
What does that say to you? This isn't a video. We're talking about an object, a physical craft in our possession.
Well, I'm not going to hit the ball right back to you and blame you, but who out of the guys with big microphones have asked Eric that question?
I've tried to get to him, but wait a minute. That's the best point that I have gone back. I asked Ralph Blumenthal this direct question. Sean, why hasn't the journalist seized on that opportunity of the gift of a lifetime? Right? That's your story. Right there. Yep. Why isn't that news, and why did we all just let it go? And I'm talking about the media and journalists.
How come some people can walk right up to a lawnmower and say it ain't got no gas in it, and other people are going to work on the spark plugs all day?
That's why you're Sean Cahill, and I'm just a radio host. Let's take our break. And Sean, when we come back, I want to get to your notes on the report that was just released, and I want to focus on page 6. Everything else is redacted, so it doesn't matter. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Sean Cahill. We are going into overtime, and we are going to take a look at the UAP Task Force report. And if you want to see the report, head over to the Black Vault, and you can do the PDF download right there. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Overtime with Sean when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
Listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church. Jason Martell's book, Knowledge Apocalypse 10-Year Anniversary Edition, is now available. Most ancient cultures speak of a time when their gods visited them. They never say their gods came from across the ocean or from the mountains. They always came down from the skies. Was ancient man visited by gods or extraterrestrials? We have not been told the full truth about our human past. There was a time when all the ancient cultures lived amongst beings they considered their gods. The search for truth leads us down the path of learning where the ETs might come from and why they are here. To understand some of these advanced topics and learn the truth about human origins, buy the new book from Jason Martell, Knowledge Apocalypse, now in its 10-year anniversary edition, available on Amazon.com by clicking on the banners over on our site, or simply visit jasonmartell.com. That's jasonmartell.com. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30days free That's coupon code 30 days free on forbiddenknowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. It is overtime with Sean Cahill. We're going to take a look, some analysis at the redacted UAPTF report that was released June 25th last year. It is at theblackvault.com, and you can download the PDF version, and I've also put up the links in the chat room and in social media, so you can go and take a glance at that. And now, Sean, by the way, I'm just going to say this. Your U.S. Navy official photograph, that image, man, that is internet gold. I've done everything I could not to post it. I'm just letting you know.
I appreciate it.
Man, you've grown up and found the fountain of youth. Okay, so I looked at it during the break. It's just too funny. You're so serious. Okay, let's take a look at page 6, which I would like everybody to pull up page 6, scroll down. There's 24 pages there. It is the page that is labeled 6, okay? Don't go in the order of the PDF document because you'll land on the wrong page. And the top part of the page, it starts off redacted, by the way, but it's 1.4 sub A, and then you can scroll down, and then it says page 6 at the bottom, followed by another redaction. Okay, but what is curious to me about this is this. There are the redactions, but there is a data gold mine in between those redactions and what was being reported on and seen and witnessed. And so I want to start off with this and then get your comment, because the top of the page says redaction, observed UAP usually travel between redaction and redaction. Altitudes varied for these objects, but frequently registered between redacted and redacted, mean sea level, the MSL. We have redacted cases. Now, I don't even know why that would be redacted. However, in which the observer perceived that the UAP demonstrated redaction, and another in which the UAP was detected redacted feet at mean sea level. Now, just that paragraph there, I don't understand the redactions for that. I don't see the acquiring of data that is going to be revealed with the radar systems or something sensitive in security. Why?
Let me read it differently. I'm just going to change the word UAP. The observed MiG usually traveled between, now you're telling us the operating parameters of the MiG. For these objects, but frequently registered between blank and blank, we're probably looking at a altitude versus a amount of feet above the mean sea level. So again, operating ability, its attributes. We have blank cases. So if this was a foreign adversary, stating how many cases you have in which the observer perceived that that the MiG demonstrated blank. So whether that phrase right there says exotic capabilities or aerial performance that outstrips our F-35. Those things are not something you would ever put in a public report, because if it is an adversary, they're going to let me put it this way. You don't want somebody to know anything about your Tesla, okay? And then a report comes out that your Tesla was clocked doing 120 miles an hour. Well, if you know your Tesla does 200 miles an hour and you just found out the police only clocked you at 120, you've just found out that you have jumped them in their ability to even detect and perceive you. So all of these things that we're seeing in there. And again, I want to back up to one piece. You and I have been remiss in one thing. We've conflated alien crash, big picture kind of thing.
Sure.
What we're looking at here, if I can remind us, is the preliminary assessment of unidentified aerial phenomena. So a preliminary assessment is you have, how much time did they have? Weeks, months? 6 months, I think, before the report was due. So you got 6 months to comb through everything. By the way, there's no office of this to just call up and say, send me the files. You got to contact every single person every single office or department that you think may have ever collected data on this. So I can imagine an all call went out. Now, when an all call on data comes out, you've got people that give the data right away because they're good workers. You got people that sit on it for 6 weeks because they're unorganized and they got to be yelled at by their boss. And then you got people like Air Force that don't even help.
Yeah, they won't give it up.
So that's another place to focus. But let me not perseverate on that and just say this was a preliminary report. So they gathered the quickest, dirtiest picture they could and got it back to Congress. What we're looking at here is just that kind of simple data. That because it doesn't say anything in here and there's no conclusions in here. So if it was aliens, honestly, we might even redact it the same way because we want them to know what we know.
Okay, now this is where I go, but, sure. Right? There's always a but. But they also gave a preliminary assessment that they couldn't assign anything to a state actor or foreign adversary.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So they do have a catch-all named other, though.
That's right. So now let's go to the next paragraph, because where they've redacted the amount of cases, right? They've redacted the amount of cases we have redacted cases. And then we go to the next paragraph, which is...
Well, hold on. Let me back up and say, we have redacted cases in which the observer perceived that UAP demonstrated redacted. It's not, yes. They're not just keeping the amount of cases redacted. It's not just saying we had 20 cases. It's saying we had 20 cases that did this specific thing that we don't want to make public right now.
So why would they have the next paragraph unredacted? In 18 incidents, right? They didn't redact that. Described in 21 reports, that's not redacted. Observers reported unusual UAP movement, flight patterns of flight characteristics, and or redacted. A few of these reports described UAP behavior, redacted. It's like it's contradictory to the opening paragraph.
If we're really sleuthing it, let's go. Let's not skip anything. We have blank cases which observers perceived blank. Then the next line item is, or the subject, you, and a handful of UAP appear to demonstrate advanced technology. What this indicates is whatever is being redacted in the previous paragraph was not advanced technology. Okay? So they say, and a handful of UAP appear to demonstrate advanced technology. In 18 incidents described in 21 reports, observers reported unusual UAP movement patterns or flight characteristics and or blank. Now, you and I can guess that says exotic propulsion or 5 observables or something like that.
Which they do in the next paragraph.
Right. So a lot of this is contextual. And all I'm saying here is if we grab a paragraph and apply meaning to it, will it work? Maybe. But that's why we got to read the whole page through. So we can't skip any of the lines. Military speak is gobbledygook. Half the time it's acronyms. We drop certain words. You might say, met with complainant 7-Eleven because, it's a shorthand. And people who write these tend to fall into that shorthand. So it's very important that we read the whole thing. I'm not saying read less. I'm saying read more.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the paragraph 3 under U, right, which is paragraph 2 under U, which is redacted. Some UAP appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or move at considerable speed without discernible means of propulsion. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems processed radio frequency RF energy associated with UAP sightings as redacted. Although these are redacted, we would redacted, right? Recordings of MDA displays suggest these UAP redacted. A lot of redacted, actually. So, again, without discernible means of propulsion, what does that suggest to you?
Well, that suggests to me that, again, those redactions are too large for me to really speculate what might be there. But let me allude to something different. What you're seeing here, in my opinion, is proper redaction of classified systems that may or may not have collected this data. Now, you may or may not have seen in the last couple of days, the Russian army appears to have abandoned a Connex box, if you know what that is, like a shipping container, with a command center for one of their most advanced and misunderstood electronic warfare systems that they're utilizing today. Somebody retreated and left the whole thing back. So they really wish that could get redacted. Their entire program for that is now going to become known by their adversary. Now, what we're doing here is these might be details about systems similar to ourselves. Whether you're saying and I'm going to make an arbitrary number up in my head, but you want to say, they were detected on a frequency band of 14.8 megahertz. Again, no meaning, just pulled that out of the ether. If you tell an adversary that you detected something at a certain frequency range, you've given them understanding of your warfare system. The Russians don't want us to have that box full of electronics and computers and probably operating manuals and things like that. Their intel folks are probably devastated right now that was captured. At no point do we want to give those details away to an adversary. And this preliminary report was not tasked with determining whether alien life exists in the universe or UFOs are visiting the planet. They were tasked with doing a preliminary sweep on a broad subject that most of us have a hard time even defining. You and I were on the phone earlier talking about UFO versus UAP. And I think that's still something that confuses a lot of folks. And a lot of folks have assigned this conspiracy that they're trying to change the name. No, we're not. No, and there is no we trying to change anything. The fact is, a UFO is an unidentified flying object. Flying has a definition. Flight characteristics have a definition. An airplane isn't a name that we came up with. It's a description of the action the thing does. It is a plane, not an airplane. It's a plane, just like a piece of wood is a plane that has a certain geometry that allows it to create lift. So UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, indicates something unidentified occurring in the air. It can cover a lot more because you and I know you don't do just shows about nuts and bolts, knock, 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 metalcraft. We talk about things that are far more esoteric and strange because when we start getting into the consciousness aspect of this and the psychotronics, we're in a whole nother area. We're back into that Valayan masquerade,
Yes.
So I think UAP is a better way to talk about this. Do UFOs exist? Yes. Are UFOs UAP? I would say so.
Yes.
Are all UAP UFOs? No. Just as a UFO is not a USO. Now, here's a great metaphor. I may mess some of these up. Any of the astronomy buffs catch me, flay me alive. Meteor comes into the atmosphere, becomes a meteoroid in space, enters Earth's atmosphere and begins to burn up and becomes a meteor. When it reaches the ground, it becomes a meteorite. A meteorite is a type of a rock. That is the same thing. It transited 3 different places. Its name changed and its classification changed as it transited those mediums. A UAP coming from orbit, zipping down to 5 feet above the water, and then going into the water. It may have been a UAP, a UFO, a USO, all in the same way that meteor changed classification.
Sure.
It's just a way to talk about things. It's a way to add more information to the system, not less.
Well, when we go to the next paragraph after the heavy redactions in 3, and we go to 4, which is in, and the date's redacted or the location, right? A Navy pilot in Ann, so we don't know the aircraft, and that's another heavy 2-line redaction in altitude. He noted the winds aloft were greater than redacted. He was fighting to keep his aircraft in the airspace, redacted, was redacted, and its position was unaffected by the redacted. The pilot redacted. Object was redacted. This doesn't read to me, Sean, and again, your opinion, this doesn't read to me as terrestrial. It doesn't feel like they know what we're talking about, that this is a known equipment system of ours, of Northrop Grumman, of Skunk Works, or of the Russian Air Force.
AKA unidentified.
Unidentified. That's what this reads to me as. You can say UAP. I'm going to go UFO. That's the vibe that I get from even with the heavy redactions.
And that's you and I being educated up to the point where UAP is a spectrum of things.
Sure.
So I agree with you. That's where I want to be careful and not say UFO.
Right.
Because let's be real here. We don't know shape, color, other aspects of this that you and I have been socialized to by reading other reports. Are we dealing with an orb? Did there appear to be energetics involved? Are we dealing with the triangle? Did it have any kind of airfoil? There's a lot of questions to ask, and we don't have them. So I agree with you. This does not sound like any terrestrial arsenal I am aware of, or any, as I like to say, people that pay taxes and have an email address. You know what I mean? Because pretty much anybody that's going to deal with this stuff and have that level of money and technology is going to do both of those things, or at least give the semblance of paying taxes, not to make a joke. I don't see that here either. I see something that I would term as exotic, especially if it's able to hold station in a place that our best technology is fighting a headwind in. Now,
I'm looking at the clock. One last run at this, and then I've got a follow-up question for you. The UAP task force holds a small amount of data that appear to show, this is the last paragraph on page 6, to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. And I want to know what was redacted right there.
I'll guess for you at that one. Because what you're looking at here is a comparison. The UAPTF holds a small amount of data that appear to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or to a degree of signature management. I believe that what you're looking at there that would say something along the lines of that would give the impression of incredible acceleration.
Because it follows up with, and I agree with you, because the last part of page 6 is, I think, the most compelling, and a lot is revealed here. Additional rigorous analysis is necessary by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and validity of these data. We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies were demonstrated.
Yep.
That's a heavy, heavy, heavy statement.
I completely agree. I mean, you've got a couple. I pulled out a couple of others, and I'll hit them real quick. The limited amount of high-quality reporting on UAP hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent of UAP. That's a correct statement according to the scope of the UAP task force, but it does indicate to us that we need more data. And throughout this document, in numerous places, they mention that we need more data, more openness, more reporting. And so they're asking the right questions in these preliminary reports.
The vortex that you saw. The way you described it, it feels vortexy to me.
Sure.
Okay. That incident, let's just call it that, and you said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
That went to the center and then disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
What did that show you? Was it a point of quantum physics, singularity, heading into a wormhole and disappearing into another dimension? As crazy as that sounds, that's
I understand. You're asking me to speculate deep on it, and I'm a lifelong science fiction fan, and none of those words scare me. I won't harp too far on the fact that obviously I'm not a physicist and I can't know those things. But let me say this. At the time, I would have made those same guesses, used those same words that you did.
Right.
Now I'm more apt to say that what I observed was transmedium travel, because to me, instantaneous acceleration, probable hypersonic acceleration, and possible cloaking. I mean, who knows? Because what we have to determine, we have the 5 observables. Did I watch stuff cloak itself and disappear? Did I watch a stream of tracers on a range and think they were UAP? Did I see a grouping of chaff from an aircraft that I wasn't aware about? There's a million things it could have been, but let's be real here. We were in the middle of the Tic Tac event. I was asked to look for lights in the sky. Saw 5 to 7 do something weird. To me, it's either what we were just looking at with something that is either showing an acceleration that's beyond what we're used to, or they are able to do signature management in a way that they can disappear and reappear elsewhere. Because if I'm standing in front of you in a room and I move instantaneously from point A to point B, what's the difference between me moving there, or me disappearing and moving there and reappearing, or me disappearing and reappearing without any kind of 3-dimensional battle space movement? I can't prove that from here. But what I think I saw was commensurate with the 5 observables. And when I first told Lou that story, he turned to his colleague that I was with, who actually that person was UAPTF lead, and said, "See?" And that person said, just shook his head like kind of like a damn it. Like that wasn't in the report. We didn't know that matches, it's commensurate with other data kind of thing. We had a conversation that was kind of loose about that. So I think what I saw was were 5 to 7 craft or something of that nature, exhibiting the 5 observables in the battle space.
In the 60 seconds that we have left, the $1 million question is 2022 the year. Are things moving along as quickly as Lou would suggest and that you are aware of? Is there something dramatic that is going to happen in 2022 when it comes to disclosure and the big reveal?
Well, there we are again, talking about big reveals and dramatic stuff. I would say that steady progress is being made. The type of progress that we've seen before, to me, has become exponential. The level of interest that we have, the junkets that are being planned, the international outreach, the gathering of subject matter experts, and the socializing of this topic as incredibly serious are moving at a pace that I would not have guessed even 6 months ago. The reports I'm getting back about how serious this is being taken on the Hill, how serious it's being taken, in the Beltway and in the Pentagon, are unlike anything I've ever seen. People will call those platitudes. They'll say I'm pumping folks up. Nope, I'm not calling for dramatic global change, but I am talking for major foundational wickets that are unlike any we've seen before. And we're standing here reading this unredacted report about UAP.
Right. It's crazy to me. Sean, thank you for all of your efforts. What a great conversation tonight.
Thank you, Jimmy.
I so look forward to the next time on the show. And, tonight we had to do a little bit of everything. When you come back, we'll focus on one subject and do the deep dive, my friend. Thank you so much.
I'd love to. Thank you, Jimmy.
Sean Cahill, everybody. And I want to remind, thank you, Sean. Want to remind everybody, tomorrow night is Fader night, and it's open lines all night long. Sean's website, Minty Hyperspace, that is the name. MintyHyperspace.com is right there, and of course, Skyfort.org. What a great show tonight. Tomorrow night is Fader night with open lines all night long. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboys, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. It's time to fade to black.